Folks, today I am joined by Michael Giacchino, the director of Werewolf by Night, Hollywood, one of Hollywood's premier composers, and perhaps most importantly, a fellow New Jersey
Yes.
Italian. Uh, Michael, look, man, seriously, how did you convince Marvel to let you make this? It is arguably not only for a genre, but a brand that one of the general knocks on it is that it's a very monolithic
Yeah.
franchise. Werewolf by Night is easily the most idiosyncratic entry in the MCU so far. So congrats on that. And really, I just want to hear what your pitch was.
It was funny. This is maybe 4 years ago. I was walking across the lot with Kevin Feige, and we were talking about, he was like, well, if you were going to direct, what would you want to do? And I was like, well, Werewolf by Night. There's just like, and he was like, wait,
Wow.
really? And I was like, yes. And he goes, well, why that? And I was like, because it's the most unexplored area of the Marvel universe. And it's about characters that have real empathy and real problems and real struggles with humanity. And that really interests me. As a kid, I grew up watching monster movies. I loved them so much. And I never understood why all the other characters in those films wanted to kill the monsters. I was like, no, you don't kill these things. These are people with problems. You need to help them. That's, to me, was the entire thing about a monster film. This idea that these are people with problems and struggles that they don't know how to deal with, and they need help, but no one would ever help them. I mean, to watch a film like King Kong,
Yeah.
I always felt awful about what happened to King Kong. I felt awful, where I had other friends who were like, yeah, kill him, knock him off the building. He's going to destroy everything. I was like, yeah, he's destroying everything because you guys are not treating him right. You're not doing what's best in his best interest. So the idea to have a chance to explore that within the Marvel universe was very interesting to me. And that's really what drove the whole thing.
And I got to be frank, man, when I saw that first trailer, I thought there's no way that the actual project is going to maintain this tenor and tone and look, but you guys really went for it, and it's awesome for that. If you wanted to give fans a primer of horror films to check out to get themselves in the mood for this, what are, I don't know, 2 or 3 of them?
I would say watch The Wolfman, watch Werewolf of London, watch King Kong, watch The Creature from the Black Lagoon, watch Poltergeist. You could do that too. I mean, that's another perfect example of a movie that, to me, explores horror but doesn't forget the heart, the character, or the humor of it either, the humanity. It's all there. And those are my favorite kind of things. I would also say just watch The Twilight Zone. To me, again, that was a cornerstone for what I wanted to do in terms of telling a shorter story, that had bigger implications and that talked about things that were bigger than itself. Twilight Zone, to me, Rod Serling is a god, and I just, every day thank that he existed, because what he put out into the world, to me, was some of the best stuff ever.
Michael, I want you to look inward quick. I get a huge thrill out of speaking to people who are undeniably great at their jobs. And you, as a composer, sir, are one of the best. If you had to pick, what piece of music of yours do you think is the most culturally impactful that you've made so far? And why is it up?
Why is it up?
No, I'm just kidding.
No, everyone always... everyone goes up. I love Up, and I have such a special place in my heart for it. But if I were to talk about the music that felt most like me, that I put out in the world, I would have to go back to the work I did on Lost. I always feel like Lost is like just pure emotion. Lost was always just this pure gut punch, and they allowed me to write music that I wanted to write. There was never any guidelines as to it needs to sound like this or it needs to be like that. It was just like, just do what you feel. So to me, Lost is a representation of the most honest, sort of truthful music I have ever written.
I love that answer. Sir, I've got to wrap here. Let me just say, Lost was the first show I ever watched live. And even maybe once a year, I'll still go back online and watch that scene between Locke and Jack where he tells they didn't lose your father. They just can't find his body. That scene and your music, I'm sure, sticks with me forever, man. So thank you so much for your work. I can't wait for everyone to see Werewolf by Night. Can't wait to see what you've got cooking for Batman 2 and all the stuff that you've got in the works, boss.
Great. Thank you so much. Great to talk to you. Hello.
Appreciate it, Michael. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye. Folks, today I am joined by Laura Donnelly, proud new owner of perhaps the coolest name in the MCU. I swear. as she plays Elsa Bloodstone in Werewolf by Night. Thank you so much for your time today, Laura.
My pleasure.
I am extremely curious about how this project came to you. I imagine getting a call from Marvel is a real career. Is unlike any MCU project I've ever seen. What was your reaction when you read the script and when you got the part?
Well, it was seriously, Marvel are calling me. It was like, what on earth? And I've been a big MCU fan right from the beginning. But to find out that it was going to be something completely new and really unique in this universe just made it so exciting, because who gets to do that? Who gets to just bring something brand new to an audience who has seen so much of this universe? And I just thought it was far too good an opportunity to miss. So I probably would have done it, even if there had been no script. But then I read that. And what I really loved about it, aside from the fact that it was horror and Halloween special, which are particularly, I'm a particularly big fan of, to realize that we were also telling a story that was going to have real character and heart and was aiming to, tell a really human story as well as a monster story was so appealing.
Well, so you bring up a great point. What was the most difficult and or enjoyable part of essentially being the audience's avatar in this? Because you're basically the only human in a room full of monsters, both literal and metaphorical monsters.
Yeah. What was the challenge? I mean, I think the challenge for me in acting is always anything that you have to use almost entirely your imagination and not given circumstances that are there in front of you. I come from a theater background, so I'm used to being there with real actors and on sets that I can handle and everything feels so real. And I imagined whenever I had heard about this project that it was going to be quite a lot of green screen and CGI and stuff, which in fact it wasn't, which was thrilling. So much of what we had was completely practical, but there is of course just that.
Even the monster?
Sorry?
Even the monster?
Yes, even the monster. All of the monsters. Everything was, had a huge element of practicality to it. So I think that when you are dealing in that genre, when you're dealing with a literal monster and something is a costume, or that something is going to be added to with CGI later on or anything like that, obviously you've got to you've got to tap into something that is unknown to you. There's the moment where I'm watching the transformation, so I'm watching and trying to react to that, and there's nothing to react to, and I've got to work that up. But it's it's the fun and it's the challenge of this stuff that you have to kind of dig into how you can connect with that on a personal level as well.
Plus the fact that you got to do sort of an old school horror scream in the middle of a Marvel project is so cool. That is so cool.
Tell me about it.
let me ask you here, because I've got to wrap soon. You said that you are a horror fan. If you had to suggest some films for fans to check out to put them in the mood for this, what films would you name?
My personal favorites, I would say the original Frankenstein with Boris Karloff. I would say Bela Lugosi's Dracula. Any of the old werewolf movies. I mean, which the name is complete, American Werewolf in London, which was the kind of probably the first werewolf film I think I ever saw. All of those are just going to add to your experience because you'll know what it is that we're paying tribute to.
All right, Laura, I've got to wrap here. Thank you so much for your time. I hope your character pops up again, or perhaps playing her once was the appeal of it. Either way, you've got the coolest name in the MCU going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye. Folks, today I am joined by Brian Gay and about 10,000 more folks here. Didn't expect that. Folks, today I'm joined by Brian Gay, a director of production and development at Marvel Studios, who has most recently worked on Werewolf by Night and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. Brian, thank you for joining me today, sir.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So I am thoroughly impressed with how idiosyncratic Werewolf by Night was. I think it might be the most unique project in the MCU so far, which, considering how long it's been around, is a really testament to the work that you've put out. What were the conversations like at Marvel that led to this project coming to be? Was it a desire to try something new? Was it a desire to play in horror?
I mean, yes, and even more yes. But to be specific, it was something that we knew we wanted to create what we're calling special presentations. And they're a little bit different than a movie. They're a little bit different than a TV show. They're sort of a short, what I will call an appetizer of introducing a new character, putting it in a new situation, seeing what happens. And so Werewolf by Night's our first one. And we got this idea because Michael Giacchino came to us, and he's a longtime collaborator with Marvel Studios on the composing side. He said he wanted to direct, and he had the idea of, what about Werewolf by Night? Like, we love Werewolf by Night. Great. All ears. Let's get in a room. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. And one of the ideas that quickly popped up was these 1930s and 1940s classic monster movies, right? Things that we grew up loving, things that we watched. We said, well, Werewolf by Night could fit right in on that. You know, what it would take to as an example, shoot this and portray it in black and white. What would we do with more of a shadow look to it? What would we do if it was a collection of monsters and things? And all these discussions led to what feels like a very unique special presentation in a way that you haven't seen the MCU before.
Absolutely. And now, so you kind of touched on this, more aggressively genre focused projects like this is something that we could expect you guys to do more of?
You know, who's to say? First of all, I know the secrets in Marvel, but
well, I won't ask who. Don't worry.
No, of course. No, but I think what's exciting about this one in particular is the story called for it, right? Like, we have this Werewolf by Night character who lives in the world of monsters, is, you know, something that exists in kind of that dark and scary and supernatural area. And so it made sense for this project that we should lean heavily into that and look for ways to let, you know, not just the story tell us, but the visual aspects of creating something on film.
Brian, I've got to be frank. When I first saw the trailer, I thought, there's no way that the actual project is going to keep this tone. I was like, there's no way, but you guys really did it. And I thought it was fantastic. I want to swing over to what you've got coming up next, Ant-Man 3. I try to be delicate with these things because I know how tight of a spot that you guys are in. So I just want to keep it broad. What's the first word that comes to mind when I bring up Jonathan Majors Kang?
Jonathan, first word is talented. That guy is an incredible actor, and really brought something to the character that when we were shooting feels electric, and he feels outstanding. And one of my favorite things about this movie is just the concept that the first two Ant-Man movies were relatively, you know, small, grounded. We use small as a pun, but like literally they were about the family, and they were doing that. And this time we're taking that family, we're taking Ant-Man, we're taking the Wasp, taking everyone and throwing them up against Kang. And as I'm sure you know from the comics, that's one of the biggest villains in the whole run of decades long of comic material. And that seems fun and exciting, and the reason that we wanted to make this movie. You know, it's a big challenge for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time. I've got to wrap here. And when I say from all fans, continue to live the dream, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Nice to chat with you.
Cheers.